Prologue. Molly reflects on a story her Gran once told her about a maid, a rat, and a spoon. The tale involves a maid working for wealthy landowners in a castle. After serving stew, her ladyship accuses the maid of stealing a silver spoon, even though the maid is certain she placed it by the bowl. Despite her apologies, the maid is thrown out in disgrace, her apron stained with stew. Years later, when the castle is renovated, builders find a rat's nest beneath the dining room floor containing the missing spoon. The story illustrates themes of unfair judgment and the consequences of misplaced blame, resonating with Molly's experiences and the injustices she has faced. In Chapter 1, Molly reflects on her career as a maid, following in the footsteps of her late grandmother. Now head maid at the Regency Grand Hotel, Molly takes pride in her work, despite the stigma some may attach to her role. The day starts well with an important event, a public announcement by reclusive author J.D. Grimthorpe in the hotel's tea room. Molly oversees the tea service, including special preparations for Grimthorpe, who is known for his eccentricity. As he steps on stage, he makes a strange remark about needing extra honey in his tea. After a brief speech, he suddenly collapses on top of Molly's maid-in-training, Lily, and dies, causing panic among the guests. Emergency services are called, but it's too late. Grimthorpe is dead, setting the stage for an unfolding mystery that Molly is now involved in. In Chapter 2, Molly reflects on her role at the Regency Grand Hotel and her training of Lily Finch, a quiet but promising maid-in-training. Molly compares Lily's current fear and trembling to her own experience years ago when she was wrongly accused of murdering Mr. Black. Molly sympathizes with Lily, who faces the trauma of witnessing J.D. Grimthorpe's sudden death at the hotel. Molly recounts how Lily struggled at her job interview, but proved herself through hard work and attention to detail. Meanwhile, Molly misses her boyfriend Juan Manuel, who is visiting family in Mexico, and discusses their tradition of Sunday dinners with Mr. Preston, the hotel's doorman, who has been a longtime friend of Molly's late grandmother. The day of the event, Molly heads into work, ready to manage the big announcement from Grimthorpe, unaware of the chaos that is about to unfold. Today, J.D. Grimthorpe, renowned mystery author, VIP Press Conference 10. Molly prepares for the press conference with J.D. Grimthorpe at the Regency Grand. She changes into her head maid uniform and meets Lily, her maid-in-training, who has made significant progress. They face a brief encounter with Cheryl, a former head maid, who is uncomfortably early and tries to interfere with their duties. Molly brushes her off and proceeds to direct Lily to ensure the tea service for Grimthorpe is prepared correctly. Meanwhile, Molly admires the newly renovated tea room, set for the event. Mr. Snow introduces her to Serena Sharp, Grimthorpe's assistant, who praises the hotel's preparations and suggests an early book signing. Molly coordinates the staff for the signing, and despite her nerves, finally gets the chance to meet Grimthorpe. When he signs her book, he doesn't recognize her, though she recalls everything about him. The moment is unsettling for Molly. In Chapter 3, Molly reflects on a childhood memory with her grandmother Gran as they head to the Grimthorpe mansion. Gran, a maid for many years, takes Molly to the mansion, where she works. On the way, they discuss Gran's embroidery and the Serenity Prayer, while Molly is nervous about visiting such a grand place. At the mansion, Gran reassures Molly as they approach the imposing estate. Before this, Molly recalls a difficult meeting at school with Miss Cripps, where Gran advocated for her against unfair treatment. Miss Cripps suggested Molly be held back a year despite her good grades, claiming her social development was lacking. Gran, in turn, challenged the school's approach and, after a tense conversation, took Molly out of the meeting. The memory transitions back to Gran and Molly entering the mansion, with Gran reaffirming their ability to handle any situation together. In Chapter 4, Molly and Lily are in Mr. Snow's office, shaken after witnessing the sudden death of J.D. Grimthorpe in the hotel tea room. As emergency services arrive, Molly tries to support Lily, who is in shock, while the hotel becomes filled with curious onlookers and reporters. After a lengthy wait, Detective Stark arrives to investigate, bringing a tense atmosphere into the office. Stark questions Lily, who is too distressed to speak, and Molly steps in to defend her. Stark presses for answers about the tea served to Grimthorpe, suspecting foul play. Molly, recalling small details like the misaligned doily, provides what little she can. Despite some skepticism from the detective, Molly points out that the cue cards Grimthorpe had with him are missing. Stark, unconvinced but desperate for answers, reluctantly agrees to let Molly assist in walking her through the events, signaling the start of the investigation into Grimthorpe's death. In Chapter 5, Molly and Gran arrive at the Grimthorpe mansion, where Gran works as a maid. The mansion is grand and Molly is struck by its beauty. Gran requests permission for Molly to stay while she works, as there was an incident at school. Mrs. Grimthorpe agrees, but sets strict rules, insisting that children should not be seen or heard. Inside, Molly is fascinated by the mansion, especially a Fabergé egg on display. After Gran leaves, Molly begins cleaning, polishing the silver, and unexpectedly cleans the Fabergé egg. Mrs. Grimthorpe catches her and accuses her of ruining the egg's patina, demanding a punishment. Molly is tasked with polishing all of the mansion's silver, which Molly accepts as her punishment. Despite the severity, Molly feels strangely excited and asks to begin immediately, marking the start of her daily work at the mansion. In Chapter 6, Detective Stark and Molly investigate the scene where Mr. Grimthorpe collapsed. They enter the tea room, finding it in disarray with tea-stained tablecloths and discarded food. The body bag containing Grimthorpe's corpse is central to the chaos. As they investigate further, the Lambs, a fan club of Grimthorpe's, gather in the corridor, adding an element of confusion. Stark questions Molly about the events leading up to Grimthorpe's collapse, including the tea cart and missing honeypot. Molly provides details, revealing that Grimthorpe requested tea with honey before his collapse. They find a note in the trash with handwriting unfamiliar to Molly. Stark questions the absence of personal items in Grimthorpe's room and discovers that his secretary, Serena Sharp, has mysteriously disappeared. The chapter ends with Stark pressing Molly for information about anyone who might have had a motive to harm Grimthorpe. In Chapter 7, Molly continues her work at the Grimthorpe mansion. After a restful sleep, she shares with Gran her decision to become a maid like her. Upon arriving at the mansion, Gran sets Molly to work polishing silver while Mrs. Grimthorpe heads out for errands. Gran expresses concern about leaving Molly alone, but she reassures her. While working, Molly becomes fascinated with the mansion's grand library and discovers a secret passageway. She hears a man's voice, presumably Mr. Grimthorpe, and becomes frightened. She narrowly escapes when the man notices her presence, causing her to run back to the entrance just as Gran returns. Though shaken, Molly tries to act normal, hiding the terrifying encounter. The chapter highlights Molly's growing curiosity about the mansion and the secrets within, setting the stage for further intrigue. In Chapter 8, Molly wakes from a troubling dream about Mr. Grimthorpe, then receives a morning call from Juan Manuel, who reminds her of Gran's old saying, "Rise, polish, and shine." After discussing the previous day's events with him, Molly heads to the Regency Grand, where the aftermath of Mr. Grimthorpe's death still lingers. At the hotel, she encounters Mr. Preston, who hints at something strange going on. Molly discovers that Cheryl has returned to work, and Mr. Snow assigns her to help with the restaurant due to a shortage of waiters. As Molly speaks to Miss Sharp, she realizes the secretary is hiding something, particularly about the missing honeypot. The chapter ends with a fire alarm going off, causing chaos, and when things settle, Molly finds that Miss Sharp and a rare book are both missing, raising more questions about Mr. Grimthorpe's death. In Chapter 9, Molly reflects on her experiences at the Grimthorpe mansion, including her frightening encounter with Mr. Grimthorpe. After a conversation with Gran, she heads back to the mansion, excited about a potential surprise from Mrs. Grimthorpe. Upon arriving, Mrs. Grimthorpe reveals that she wants Molly to read in the mansion's library after polishing silver. Molly is thrilled by the opportunity. In the library, she discovers a hidden door leading to Mr. Grimthorpe's study, where she has a tense encounter with him. He reveals his frustrations and his secretive nature, but Molly manages to ask about the secretary, which provokes a hostile reaction. After the confrontation, Molly retreats to the safety of tea with Gran, feeling unsettled by the mysterious and unpredictable atmosphere in the mansion. The chapter highlights Molly's growing awareness of the mansion's dark secrets and Mr. Grimthorpe's volatile nature. In Chapter 10, Molly, Angela, and Mr. Snow discovered that a box containing Mr. Grimthorpe's personal items is missing from the hotel lobby. Angela warns Molly that she's in trouble, as the police are considering foul play in Grimthorpe's death and have listed both Molly and Lily as suspects. Angela insists they work together to find the real murderer, suggesting they interrogate the Lambs, a group of Grimthorpe's devoted fans. Molly reluctantly agrees to participate in the breakfast with the lambs, who are eager to discuss their theories about Grimthorpe's death and upcoming plans. Beulah, the biographer, suggests Grimthorpe was going to announce a sequel to his bestseller. Bertie believes he was planning to reveal a new love interest, while Gladys thinks it was related to Grimthorpe's wife's death. During the tense breakfast, the lambs argue over their theories, and Molly hints at the consequences of keeping secrets. In Chapter 11, Molly reflects on her experiences with the Grimthorpes and her growing curiosity about Mr. Grimthorpe's mysterious life. She discusses with Gran the complexities of wealth, the Grimthorpe's family history, and Mr. Grimthorpe's emotional struggles. Gran explains that Mr. Grimthorpe was once deeply ill, which turned him into a difficult person, but he recovered. Despite his wealth, he still struggles with inner demons. Later, Molly returns to the mansion to clean silver and is rewarded by Mrs. Grimthorpe with time to read in the library. While there, Molly encounters Mr. Grimthorpe, who unexpectedly apologizes for his past behavior. They discuss his ongoing writer's block and the themes of his current work, which involves a man facing moral dilemmas. The conversation leads Molly to suggest a novel solution using lie, causing Mr. Grimthorpe to momentarily regain his spark of joy. In Chapter 12, Molly leaves the lamb's breakfast and is confronted by Angela, who praises her for pretending to be a detective. Despite her discomfort, Molly returns to work at the hotel, where she finds Lily acting strangely and revealing a past job loss due to being wrongfully blamed for a theft. Molly notices a suspicious box in Lily's trolley linked to Serena and feels the weight of her deception about impersonating a detective. Later, she confesses her fraud to Detective Stark, but Stark accuses her of being involved in Mr. Grimthorpe's murder. Molly denies it, explaining the connection between ethylene glycol antifreeze and sweetened tea. Stark suggests Molly may have poisoned Grimthorpe, but Molly refutes it, pointing out her prints were on the honeypot. After leaving the station, Molly realizes Grimthorpe was murdered and rushes to warn Mr. Snow, but stops when she sees Mr. Preston with a rare Grimthorpe book at a pawn shop. In Chapter 13, Molly reflects on her struggles with social interactions, feeling like a failure after receiving a poor report card. Her Gran reassures her, emphasizing that her strengths aren't reflected by a piece of paper. Gran leaves to collect laundry and reminds Molly to give the rent envelope to Mr. Rosso. When Molly answers the door, she meets a young woman, Maggie, who claims to be an old acquaintance of Gran's. Despite Maggie's shaky behavior and worn appearance, Molly offers her hospitality, and Maggie shares that she misses Gran. Maggie leaves abruptly, telling Molly to pass on a message to Gran. After Gran returns, Molly realizes that the rent envelope, which was on the table, is now missing. The connection between the mysterious guest and the missing envelope is clear, and Molly understands the importance of what's been taken as invisible truths come to light. In Chapter 14, Molly struggles with the possibility that Mr. Preston might be involved in Grimthorpe's murder after seeing him sell a rare book at a pawn shop. She reflects on her growing doubts and the weight of her actions, including the lie she told the lambs about being a detective. Molly cleans Gran's curio cabinet and has a revelation about her mother's identity. At work, the news about Grimthorpe's poisoning has made the hotel tense, with undercover officers present. Molly confronts Mr. Preston, who is evasive and avoids answering her questions. In the hotel, she discovers Cheryl stealing tips from other maids, which she angrily confronts her about. Cheryl dismisses the accusation, and Molly realizes that the hotel is full of hidden dirt and lies. Molly encourages Lily to clean, hoping for some resolution, but Lily remains silent and troubled, reflecting the tense atmosphere at the hotel. In Chapter 15, Molly and Gran face a financial crisis when they can't pay the rent. Gran is deeply distressed by a mysterious woman named Maggie, who took their money years ago. Gran tries to reassure Molly, but the situation feels hopeless. Just as they're processing the loss, Mr. Rosso arrives to collect the rent. He is angry and dismissive, leaving after Gran explains they don't have the money. After he leaves, Gran brushes off his threats, and they decide to distract themselves with deep cleaning the apartment. As they scrub and organize, Molly feels a sense of accomplishment, though Gran seems weary. They finish the cleaning in the evening and sit together, surrounded by Gran's prized possessions. Suddenly, the lights go out, and in the darkness, Molly hears a disturbing sound, a mother's cry, echoing the sadness she feels about their situation. In Chapter 16, Molly spends the day cleaning with Lily, hoping to connect with her, but Lily remains distant. Molly is troubled by Mr. Preston, whom she saw pawning a rare book, and wonders if he's involved in Grimthorpe's death. After work, Molly meets with Mr. Preston at the Olive Garden, where she confronts him about the book and accuses him of being a thief. He admits to selling the book, but denies being a thief or a murderer, explaining that he knew Grimthorpe years ago and sold the book after seeing its value increase. He reveals that Grimthorpe was a vile man, and Molly's Gran had been betrayed by both him and Mrs. Grimthorpe. Molly apologizes for suspecting him and asks for forgiveness, which Mr. Preston readily offers. He leaves the rest of his story untold, but assures Molly he will never forget her. In Chapter 17, Molly reflects on her childhood and her Gran's ability to bring light into dark times. After the power is cut off at their apartment, Gran assures Molly she has a plan, and they receive an IOU from the gatekeeper at the Grimthorpe mansion. Gran arranges for the rent to be paid, and the power is soon restored. While polishing silver, Molly is summoned to the library by Mr. Grimthorpe, who is in high spirits after nearly finishing his novel. He credits her with helping him solve his writing problem. They discuss his past struggles with addiction and his complex relationship with his wife. As Molly leaves the library, she sneaks outside to thank the mysterious gatekeeper, leaving him a rose as a gesture of gratitude. The gatekeeper acknowledges her thanks, and Molly returns to the mansion, feeling a sense of closure and connection. Chapter 18 begins with Molly grappling with self-doubt after mistakenly suspecting Mr. Preston of murder. Despite Juan Manuel's kind reassurances, she can't shake her feelings of failure. When she arrives at work, Mr. Preston comforts her and insists she meet Angela immediately. At the hotel bar, Angela shows them listings from an online auction site where rare Grimthorpe-related items are being sold. Among them are Mr. Grimthorpe's fountain pen, cue cards, and other personal possessions indicating an insider might be stealing and selling the items. One listing stands out, a book inscribed to Lily raising suspicion that she may be involved. Molly recalls how she once told Lily about Mr. Black's death and the blame that fell on the maid. With this revelation, Molly begins to worry that Lily, the new maid, might be both the thief and the killer. In Chapter 19, Molly sneaks back into the mansion after leaving a thank you gift for the mysterious man in the watchtower. She overhears a tense conversation between Gran and Mr. Grimthorpe in the parlor. Mr. Grimthorpe, now sober, accuses Gran of abandoning him during his withdrawal. Gran defends herself, explaining that her role was to help with his recovery, not to remain involved with him personally. Mr. Grimthorpe suddenly turns aggressive, grabbing at Gran, which shocks Molly. She rushes into the room to stop him, and Mr. Grimthorpe quickly releases Gran, claiming it was a simple invitation to tea. Despite his calm demeanor, Molly realizes that Mr. Grimthorpe is both a man and a monster, revealing his true nature as someone who can hide his darkness behind a respectable exterior. In Chapter 20, Molly, feeling faint, is caught by Mr. Preston after she faints at the bar. Angela and Mr. Preston urge Molly to confront Lily, whom they suspect may be involved in the thefts related to the hotel's memorabilia. Molly brings Lily to the social, where Mr. Preston and Angela reveal to her the troubling evidence they've discovered, including an autographed copy of Mr. Grimthorpe's book sold online. Lily remains silent, but eventually admits that Cheryl, a fellow maid, is behind the thefts. Cheryl had manipulated Lily, forcing her to stay quiet about her crimes. Molly leads Cheryl to the social, where the evidence is presented. Cheryl tries to bribe them into silence, but Molly and the group refuse. They decide to expose Cheryl's actions, and Molly is tasked with fetching Mr. Snow to deal with the situation, bringing an end to Cheryl's deceit. In Chapter 21, Molly recalls the pivotal moment when she witnessed Mr. Grimthorpe's abuse of Gran, which changed her forever. Gran's efforts to maintain hope and a positive outlook are contrasted with the dark reality of their situation. After arriving at the Grimthorpe mansion, Molly has a plan to escape Mr. Grimthorpe's tyranny. She discreetly takes the Fabergé egg, intending to steal it and bring it home, but is caught by Mrs. Grimthorpe. Despite Molly taking full responsibility for the theft, Mrs. Grimthorpe accuses both of them and throws them out. Gran is devastated by Molly's actions, but Molly's focus remains on protecting Gran from Mr. Grimthorpe. As they leave the mansion for good, Molly realizes that she has made the right choice, ensuring Mr. Grimthorpe can never harm Gran again. In Chapter 22, Molly urgently calls Mr. Snow to the social to address Cheryl's involvement in selling stolen items related to Mr. Grimthorpe. They confront Cheryl, who admits to selling goods but denies involvement in murder. Angela shows evidence from culturevulture.com, linking Cheryl to stolen items, including a first edition book. The conversation shifts to Cheryl's motives, with Lily revealing how she was coerced into helping Cheryl. Despite Cheryl's deflections, Detective Stark arrives and questions her, uncovering her role in selling Mr. Grimthorpe's possessions. Molly makes a shocking revelation. Mr. Grimthorpe suffered from writer's block, and the moleskin notebook with indecipherable scrawls proves that someone else wrote his books. This revelation hints at a motive for murder. Someone wanted Grimthorpe dead to take credit for his work. In Chapter 23, Molly shares the truth with Detective Stark about her past, connecting the dots between Mr. Grimthorpe's ghostwriting and the stolen items. They visit the Grimthorpe mansion, where they are greeted by Jenkins, the old caretaker. Stark presents a search warrant, and they explore the mansion, noting its deteriorated state. Molly leads Stark to Mr. Grimthorpe's hidden study, filled with moleskin notebooks containing nothing but indecipherable scribbles. Stark uncovers a second secret door, revealing a modern office, where they find neatly organized manuscripts of Grimthorpe's books. A photo of Grimthorpe's previous secretary with a young girl catches Molly's attention. She realizes the child in the photo is Serena Sharp, connecting her to the mansion and the mysteries surrounding Grimthorpe. This revelation hints at a deeper, hidden truth about Serena's involvement. In Chapter 24, Molly confronts Miss Serena Sharp, revealing that she knew her mother, Mr. Grimthorpe's real ghostwriter. Serena explains that her mother kept Mr. Grimthorpe's secret while writing all his novels, but never received proper compensation. After her mother's death, Serena blackmailed Grimthorpe for royalties and a lump sum, threatening to expose him as a fraud. However, Serena signed a contract forbidding her from revealing the truth. Detective Stark questions Serena about the murder, but Serena denies involvement, claiming Grimthorpe was no use to her dead. She admits to hating him, but didn't kill him. Serena reveals Grimthorpe's health issues from years of alcoholism, which made him vulnerable to poisoning. As tea is served, Molly realizes a key detail that sends her rushing to the Regency Grand, convinced that someone else, not Serena, is responsible for Grimthorpe's death. In Chapter 25, Molly and Detective Stark arrive at the Regency Grand, where they immediately investigate room 404, the site of a crucial clue. Inside, they find a cluttered mess, including a black moleskin ledger with obsessive notes about interactions with Mr. Grimthorpe, showing a pattern of rejected attempts by the occupant to get close to him. Molly recalls cleaning the room with Lily and noticing an unusual stainless steel spoon in a peanut butter jar. Upon rechecking, they find the spoon and discover a silver honey pot in the bedside table drawer. The honey is suspiciously off, and Detective Stark reveals that it contains antifreeze, confirming the murder weapon. The motive becomes clear: revenge for rejection. The occupant of the room is now implicated as the murderer, and the case points to a personal vendetta against Mr. Grimthorpe. In Chapter 26, Molly and Detective Stark set a trap for Beulah Barnes, Mr. Grimthorpe's self-proclaimed #1 fan, to lure her into revealing the truth. They organize a fake seminar about the author, with Stark posing as a detective and Molly revealing key details about Beulah's connection to the stolen Grimthorpe items. During their conversation, Beulah admits to buying the stolen items and reveals her long-standing obsession with the author, including tracking down his personal secrets. Stark and Molly strategically use a silver spoon and honey pot as evidence, leading to Beulah's eventual confession of poisoning Mr. Grimthorpe with antifreeze. When confronted with the evidence, Beulah points fingers at others, but it's clear that her motive was revenge for being rejected by her idol. Detective Stark arrests her, and Angela records the confession, sealing Beulah's fate as the murderer. In Chapter 27, Beulah is arrested for the murder of Mr. Grimthorpe after Detective Stark and Molly successfully trap her. They use a tea cart and a clever ruse to expose her knowledge of Grimthorpe's tea preferences, leading to her confession. Stark reflects on Molly's sharp attention to detail, which helped solve the case. Beulah's motive for murder was revenge after being rejected by Grimthorpe, who had exploited her mother's work. Molly shares a poignant memory of her late Gran, and Stark suggests Molly could have a future in law enforcement, but Molly doubts her ability to change professions. After Beulah's arrest, the crowd reacts, and Molly feels overwhelmed by the day's events. Mr. Preston offers support, and Molly realizes Beulah's loneliness contributed to her actions. She decides to take time to rest before continuing her conversation with Mr. Preston. 1 week later. In Chapter 28, Molly prepares for a press conference at the Regency Grand Tearoom, reflecting on recent events and her promotion of Lily to maid. She also prepares for a long overdue conversation with Mr. Preston, who will announce his retirement. As Molly sets up, Detective Stark unexpectedly joins the event, revealing that Beulah pled guilty to Mr. Grimthorpe's murder. Stark explains Beulah's motivation, a desire for acknowledgement of her mother's work as Grimthorpe's ghostwriter. The press conference reveals that Grimthorpe was a fraud, and Serena Sharp's mother, Abigail Sharp, was the true author. After the announcement, Molly and Stark share a quiet moment, where Stark once again encourages Molly to consider a future in law enforcement. Molly contemplates the offer, unsure but open to the possibility. The chapter ends with a surprising curtsy from Stark, leaving Molly to reflect on her choices. Epilogue. In Chapter 27, Beulah is arrested for the murder of Mr. Grimthorpe after Detective Stark and Molly successfully trap her. They use a tea cart and a clever ruse to expose her knowledge of Grimthorpe's tea preferences, leading to her confession. Stark reflects on Molly's sharp attention to detail, which helped solve the case. Beulah's motive for murder was revenge after being rejected by Grimthorpe, who had exploited her mother's work. Molly shares a poignant memory of her late Gran, and Stark suggests Molly could have a future in law enforcement, but Molly doubts her ability to change professions. After Beulah's arrest, the crowd reacts, and Molly feels overwhelmed by the day's events. Mr. Preston offers support, and Molly realizes Beulah's loneliness contributed to her actions. She decides to take time to rest before continuing her conversation with Mr. Preston.